Hey everyone, welcome back to the Old Charles. Hope you are all having a great day. Today we are diving into a question I get asked all the time. It's about a coin that so many of us have just sitting around in old jars or boxes tucked away in a closet. It's the 1977 nickel. So let's pull it under the microscope and answer that big question. What is a 1977 nickel really worth? First things first, let's talk about what we are looking at. The United States 5-cent piece. The nickel it's actually mostly made of copper, 75% copper and 25% nickel. The coin has been made with this same metal composition for a long time. It has Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, the front, and his home Monticello on the reverse, the back. This design was used from 1938 all the way until 2003 when the Westward Journey series started. So a 1977 nickel is a very standard issue Jefferson nickel with the Monticello reverse. Now for the big number. Everyone wants to know the value, and the honest answer is, for the vast majority of 1977 nickels the value is 5 cents. That's right. If you have a 1977 nickel that you found in your pocket change or in an old drawer, it is almost certainly just worth its face value, 5 cents. This is because the United States Mint produced a huge number of these coins. They made them in the hundreds of millions at the Philadelphia Mint and over 100 million at the Denver Mint. These coins are incredibly common, and because they are made of a metal composition that is not particularly valuable, there is no big intrinsic metal value driving up the price. But wait, you say my coin looks a little different, or it has a letter on it, or it looks shiny and new. Well, that is where we start to get into the nuances that make coin collecting fun. So let's break it down by mint mark. First, the 1977 nickel with no mint mark. This was made at the Philadelphia Mint. They made over 190 million of these. This is the most common version you will find. It is worth 5 cents. Have one that is absolutely perfect, never been touched by human hands, and has this incredible flashy luster. You might get $1 or $2 from a collector who needs it for a top-tier set, but for all practical purposes it's a 5-cent coin. Second, the 1977 D nickel. This was made at the Denver Mint. They made over 130 million of these. It is also extremely common. Its value is identical to the Philadelphia coin, 5 cents in circulated condition. An uncirculated example might fetch $1 or so, but again we are not talking about life-changing money here. So if the regular circulated coins are just worth face value, is there any 1977 nickel that is actually valuable? The answer is yes, but it is not easy to find. We are looking for coins in pristine condition, and more specifically we are looking for coins with errors. The main thing that gives a common modern coin value is its condition and any mistakes the mint made when striking it. For condition we are talking about mint state coins. These are coins that never entered circulation. They have their original luster, no scratches, no wear, no fading. The details are sharp and full. For a 1977 nickel in mint state, grade like MS65, which is a very nice quality, a collector might pay between $2 and $5 for it. Still not a fortune, but more than face value. Now for the more exciting part, errors. The 1977 nickel does have a couple of known error varieties that can be worth a bit more. One known variety is the 1977 double die obverse. This means there was a doubling in the hub that stamped the design onto the coin die, so the coin itself shows doubling in the lettering like "In God We Trust" or the date. This is not the same as machine doubling, which is common and adds no value. A true double die is much rarer. If you have a confirmed 1977 double die nickel, it could be worth anywhere from $25 to over $100 depending on how strong the doubling is and the coin's overall condition. Another thing to look for are off-center strikes. This is when the coin blank is not perfectly centered under the dies when it is struck, so you get a coin that is missing part of its design. These are always popular with error collectors. The value depends on how far off-center it is. A 5% off-center strike might be worth $10 to $20. A 50% off-center strike could be worth $50 or more. You can also look for broad strikes. These are coins struck outside of their collar, so they are wider and flatter than a normal nickel, or clipped planchets where a piece of the metal blank was missing before the coin was struck. The key point with all these errors is that they have to be dramatic and clearly identifiable. A minor imperfection is just that, an imperfection, not a valuable error. So to sum it all up, your regular spent 1977 nickel is worth 5 cents. A brilliant uncirculated one might be worth a few dollars, and if you are one of the very lucky few to find a strong double die or a dramatic off-center error, you could have a coin worth $50 to $100 or more. The best thing to do is to take your time and look through your coins carefully. Use a magnifying glass, good lighting, and compare your coin to known examples online. The fun is in the hunt. You never know what you might find. We talked about the value of a specific modern nickel, the 1977 one. Today I thought we would take a Bigger step back and look at the long and surprisingly dramatic history of the United States 5-cent piece, because this little coin has been through a lot more changes and controversies than you might think. It's not just the coin we have today, it's a story that involves king's silver shortages and even a famous architect. So let's get into it. Our story doesn't start with nickel, it starts with silver in the early days of the United States. After the Revolution, the coinage system was a mess. Foreign coins like Spanish pieces of 8 were more common than American ones. The first US Mint in Philadelphia was established in 1792, and they began producing a series of silver half-dimes. These were tiny silver coins worth 5 cents. They were about half the size of a dime and were made from a precious metal. This was the 5-cent piece from 1794 until the 1860s. So why did we stop using silver? The answer is the Civil War. When the Civil War broke out in 1861, people began hoarding gold and silver coins. The precious metal in them was worth more than their face value, so coins vanished from circulation. To solve this crisis, the government started issuing paper money, but they also needed small change. This led to the creation of fractional currency, which were basically postage stamp money, and they also authorized the first nickel 3-cent piece. This is where our metal nickel enters the picture. A powerful and influential man named Joseph Wharton saw his opportunity. Wharton owned the largest nickel mine in the United States in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He was a brilliant industrialist, and he lobbied Congress hard to use nickel in the nation's coinage. He argued it was a tough, durable American metal, and it just so happened he was the main person who could supply it. Congress was persuaded, and in 1866 they authorized a new 5-cent coin made not of silver but of a copper-nickel alloy. This new coin was larger and thicker than the silver half-dime, and it was much harder to wear down. The first design was the shield nickel, named for the large shield design on its front. This was the first true nickel as we know the denomination. The shield nickel had its problems. The design was very bold and the metal was extremely hard, which made it difficult to strike properly. Often the details would not come up fully sharp, especially the rays that were on the reverse between the stars. The mint eventually removed those rays in 1867 to make production easier. Then in 1883 a big change happened. The shield nickel was replaced by the Liberty head nickel. This coin featured a Roman goddess Liberty on the obverse and a large Roman numeral V for 5 on the reverse. This led to one of the most famous scandals in American coinage, the racketeer nickel, because the coin said 5 cents on the obverse but not on the reverse. Con artists realized they could gold plate the coin and it would easily pass for a $5 gold piece to the unsuspecting public. The mint had to quickly add the word cents on the reverse later in 1883 to stop this practice. The Liberty head nickel had a long run, but its end was dramatic. In 1913 the design was supposed to be changed. The Buffalo nickel was ready for production, but apparently at the Philadelphia Mint 5 specimens of the 1913 Liberty head nickel were struck under mysterious circumstances, possibly as a secret midnight operation by Mint employees only. 5 are known to exist, and they became the most legendary and valuable coins in American numismatics. One sold for over $3 million in 1913. The new coin debuted the Buffalo nickel, or more correctly the Indian head nickel. It featured a Native American chief on the obverse and an American bison on the reverse. It was a beautiful and distinctly American design, but it had a major flaw. The date was placed on a high point of the design and it wore away very quickly in circulation. Many Buffalo nickels you find today have the date completely smoothed away. This design lasted until 1938. Then we come to the coin most of us are familiar with, the Jefferson nickel. In 1938 the Mint held a competition to design a new nickel to honor Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States. The winner was a German-American artist named Felix Schlag. His design featured a portrait of Jefferson on the front and a view of his iconic Virginia home Monticello on the back. This is the design that was used from 1938 all the way until 2003. But even this coin has a fascinating wartime history. During World War II nickel became a critical war material needed for armor plating and other military equipment. So from 1942 to 1945 the composition of the nickel changed. They removed the nickel metal and replaced it with an alloy of 56% copper, 35% silver and 9% manganese. These are the famous wartime silver nickels. You can identify them by the large mint mark above the dome of Monticello on the reverse, including AP for Philadelphia, which was never used before. This was the only time the 5-cent piece contained silver. After the war the mint returned to the standard copper-nickel composition, and the Jefferson nickel with Monticello continued for decades. It was in 2004 that the nickel saw its biggest transformation since 1938 with the Westward Journey series to commemorate the Lewis and Clark expedition, and then the return to a new permanent design in 2006, the forward-facing Jefferson based on a famous portrait, and a new view of Monticello from the front, which is the design we still have today. So from a tiny piece of silver to a coin born from Civil War crisis to a wartime hero made with silver, the humble nickel has a history that reflects the history of America itself. It's a story of industry, art, war and innovation all in one small pocket